This is John Malcolmson, Coordinator for the Center for Ecumenical and Interreligious Engagement at Seattle University. You are listening to the Art of Spiritual Direction workshop and an excerpt from Dr. Valerie Lesniak, who is speaking about how we seek deeper spiritual direction during and after the isolation of a pandemic. I encourage you to take a listen.
One of the unexpected blessings that living under the COVID quarantine was the chance for people to take up walking in neighborhoods, local parks, or simply to be out in nature. Here in Seattle, the city council closed neighborhood streets and designated them as pedestrian walking zones. I know for myself, walking not only provided the much needed exercise, asceticism, and time outside of the house, but became an intentional practice with dedicated time to be in nature. Time and space to reconnect with the earth's processes, its rhythms, its isness, and to contemplate the wonders of the world that were still unfolding in spite of seeming global shutdown. Walking, reconnecting with nature, and contemplating were the only things really we could do in the course of those months. Didn't it feel like the world was invited to be on a long retreat? And we were led to open and contemplate the original book of Revelation, the book of nature. This was a gift, a hidden gift. Now just take 1 or 2 seconds and remember what you did during those difficult and unprecedented times. It was not too long ago, but remember what that felt like, what that experience was. Under the cloud of the real deadly threat of COVID, a mantra attributed both to the 20th century spiritual teacher Ram Dass and the 13th century mystic Rumi, that we are all just walking each other home, surfaced in my consciousness. Just popped up there. Don't you love it when things like that happen? They just come to you. This mantra, we are all just walking each other home, reverberated in my heart on my daily excursions, especially during this COVID time. We are all just walking each other home. That mantra subsequently spilled over into my reflection time, surfacing scripture stories, favorite poems, and personal sources of inspiration about what does it mean to walk each other home? What does it mean to be a companion on the way? Fortunately, during this time, I was able to continue doing spiritual direction like many of you, but in totally different way than I had done before COVID. Instead of physically being with another in the same room, which I cherish, which I just love, I was present to my directees using the telephone, Zoom, or FaceTime. I I was somewhat surprised, really, and kind of resistant, I must admit, that regardless of the communication platform I was using, the experience of being attentive to the direction process still was possible. However, doing spiritual direction remotely encouraged a growing edge for me as a spiritual director. How to transcend my preferred style of immediate, direct, eye-to-eye contact and the physical immediacy of my directee, and be open to a new way of being present with them and their experience over the airwaves. A total surrender to trust. I am still unpacking the gift of the novelty and possibility that this is bringing to my practice. I feel like I'm only taking baby steps here. But I know it focused my attention on a primary ingredient of spiritual direction. Spiritual direction is always about relationship. Relationship with self, relationship with the sacred, relationship with the other, relationship with the world. I would say spiritual direction is first and foremost about a companionable relationship, a unique type of friendship that is really built around the directee's relationship with sacred mystery. And this grows with time. Now, think about people in your life who have walked alongside you as a spiritual director. Think about them for a couple seconds. Just be with these people and offer them an appreciative smile. Thomas Merton, the 20th century Trappist monk, wrote that the first thing that genuine direction requires in order to work properly is a normal, spontaneous, human relationship. I think he hit the nail right on the head. Merton understood that a rarefied or contrived relationship does not foster the appropriate atmosphere, the sacred space between for the spirit to move, to walk, to roam, to play. What spiritual direction fundamentally requires is a relationship between what I'm calling director and directee, or two companions on the way, that feels natural, free, real. In other words, authentic, genuine. At the start of my practice of these daily COVID walks, I would use my iPhone, to take pictures of something in nature that, kind of catches my eye. Then on one of my walks, just like with this mantra coming up, we are all just walking each other home, I began to unconsciously play a game, if you will. It wasn't even a game. It was just playing around, I began to identify and name sensations I was experiencing as I walked. So I was saying, oh, cloudy sky, damp air, mild temperature, crows are crawling, scent of pine, muddy ground. Oh, the lake is gray. Oh, God, sore knee. Next day or another day. It could be, oh, sun shining. Oh, the warmth. Oh, wonderful. Gentle, warm breeze. Cacophony of birds chirping in a budding bush. The smell of moist earth and the scent of a rose. More people out, smiling, walking their dogs. Oh my, a dead bird. Over the course of the days and weeks and months, each day's sensation became an exploration of the sensual terrain I was walking. My eyes were seeing more, my ears were hearing more. I was listening to bird songs. I was hearing animal voice noise, barking. I was breathing more deeply through my nose and delighting in the sense of the earth and the smell of budding plants and trees. I could taste and feel and smell the rain, the fog. I could feel my body posture and movement. I realized my senses were becoming more alert, more discriminating, and more interconnected. Each walk brought new sensations as well that opened into whole body awarenesses: joy, pleasure, wonder, aliveness, sadness, delight, peace, cautiousness, alarm, weariness, expectation. All my bodily senses helping me to grow and expand and be more grounded in the world. Now, this experience, just like that mantra, seeped into my contemplative direction practice of holy listening. I began to notice changes not only to what I was paying attention to, but how I was paying attention. I found this particularly spirited, or a grace, if you will, especially when directing remotely. That was not my preferred style. I felt bodily more present. And, the one scripture passage that I always go back to, its touchstone, is the experience of Mary going to visit Elizabeth, and I've been working on a poem since 1970, I think, and it's called Revisitation. So I was going to just read this 3 verses. It's not very long. A knowing of a coming, she slowly filled her days in marvelous amazement of how she was growing. Wisdom memoried younger days and laughed at how it could only be now. Faith had taken its inner course. She was of age. Tenderly mellowing the days of this child's becoming, she, Elizabeth, bore the soul of Israel's history, a journey forward, dazed by magnificent conception of God's desire to her kinswoman who would realize her soul and accompany her in the insecure, tormenting paths of Israel's future. She would understand the mystery of prophecy. Within and without, these two were one in the promise, the seed of design. They, adventuring to the depths of the ordinary, like immigrants discovering new land, these two were strengthened only by the delicacy of their womanly condition. Age, the past, the innocence were unimportant. What mattered only was the ability to bear the stirrings of the Spirit. We are all just walking each other home.
You have been listening to The Art of Spiritual Direction with Dr. Valerie Lesniak, speaking about spiritual direction during and after a pandemic for the Center for Ecumenical and Interreligious Engagement at Seattle University. Visit us and engage more content at seattleu.edu/thecenter.